Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is gonna be part 10 of Mr. Incredible. So today I'm gonna make our character's hair, and I'm gonna make the hair using a tool called Ornatrix, and I'm gonna use Ornatrix in Maya. There's a plugin for Maya, and it's also available for 3ds Max, and I'm gonna use that software for making the hair. I've gathered a few screenshots, as you can see here. These will help me understand how the character hair should look. So from what we can see here, I can identify mainly 3 types of hair. So the first one is going to be the one that covers most of the head. So it's going to start from the front here, and it's going to go back all the way up to here. So it's going to cover all this area. And then the second type is going to be this kind of a little bit of mullet that he has here. So these hair are going to be a little bit longer, and then he has the sideburns here. So I'm going to make these 3 types of hair, and to make my life easier, I'm going to create 3 different surfaces where I will generate the hair from. And so let's get started. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to go to my head, select my head and isolate it, and I want to identify an area of the head. I'm going to paint a mask, and I'm going to cut out this mask. So I will use that to generate my my surface for the hair. So let's see if I activate my transparency. I can kind of see where the character is supposed to have his hair. Let's see if I can manage to align a little bit my mesh with the images. It doesn't have to be perfect, but so let's see. Something like this, and something like that maybe. I'm more interested actually in the size of the ear, so it's more like kind of like this. Kind of like that, and I'm gonna draw maybe a little bit more here, and click Control. I'm gonna draw a mask, so it's something like that, like so. Alright, and this is gonna be my rough reference. So here are going to be kind of like that, and this goes like here, and then I can probably, if I go here and kind of match this view, this is where the top of the head start, like so, and then I can kind of guess the rest. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you know, something like this maybe. I can probably, let's see, I can probably bring my character there, but I don't have enough space, so I would say that it goes a little bit like that, and maybe it's gonna go a little bit like that, like so. Okay, and then for the back, again, I'm just gonna guess. It's probably gonna have something like this, and it's gonna have hair growing from this area. So it's gonna be something like this. I'm just gonna make a mask like this, and maybe a little bit less here, like so, and let's see, actually he seems to have hair very close to the ear, kind of like this, sideburns, like so. Then clean this up like that, and this should do. Alright, something like that should do. So this is gonna be the mask that I'm gonna use for generate the surface from where I'm gonna generate my hair. It's gonna be basically the scalp, and now that I have this, I'm gonna go to let's see, I can do extract. Actually, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna duplicate my head, and it's gonna duplicate the mask as well. Then I'm gonna go to let's see, I'm gonna go to geometry, and I'm gonna delete lower and delete higher, and then I'm going to edge loop, and I'm gonna click on actually I'm gonna scroll down polygroups. I'm gonna activate my polygroup view here, and I click on group masked, and after doing that, I'm gonna go and click on geometry and group loops. This is gonna smooth out my group, so I'm gonna press Ctrl Shift and click outside, and then click again to isolate this group. And apparently I have these groups as well, so I'm just gonna mask this guy out. So this is what I'm interested in, and now I'm gonna go down back to polygroups, and I'm gonna click on group visible, and now Ctrl Shift and click outside to bring actually Ctrl Shift, and I'm gonna drag to invert the mask. I'm gonna click on group visible, but to be honest, I don't actually need this, so I'm gonna do that, and I'm just gonna go here, geometry, and in modify topology, I'm just gonna click on delete hidden. So I'm gonna have my scalp here. If I want to display the inside of the faces here, I'm just gonna scroll down to display properties, and I'm gonna click on double, so it's gonna visualize both of my faces, normals, the outside normals and the inside normals. So with this, there's a couple of things I can do. Since I said I want to identify these three areas that the character is gonna have the hair, so I'm gonna go and say, let's see, pretty much from here, this is gonna be where the longer hair are gonna spawn. Maybe, oops, maybe something like that. Something like this, perhaps. So I'm gonna let's see. Yeah, I think this could be okay. If I move my character hair here, this is pretty much where this line here is pretty much where the longer hair are gonna start. So I'm gonna go back to polygroups and set group masked. It's a little bit difficult to see, but these are actually two different green colors. I can just isolate this and set auto group to get a different color. Now it's a little bit easier to see. And then I also want to define the sideburns. So I'm just gonna let me get out of perspective. I'm just gonna drag a mask about here, and these are gonna be my sideburns. Maybe a little bit higher, like so, but I think this is gonna be fine. And again, group masked. This seems that ZBrush doesn't want to. Okay, group visible. Some color like blue. Okay. So now I have my three polygroups, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go down to geometry and click on Z remesher, and I'm gonna set my target polygon count very low, something like 0.05 maybe, and I'm gonna click on keep groups, and let's see what we got. Click on Z remesher. This is too dense, so I'm gonna undo that. Let's see, 0.1 maybe, and Z remesher. Yeah, although I would like to keep this shape a little bit better, so let's see, 0.2, and maybe drop the adaptive side to 30. Let's see what we get. That's not bad. It's actually pretty decent. If I click on same, keep group, wow, that's not gonna keep the poly count. No, okay. Let's see. So basically what I'm trying to do is to get so from each one of these polygons I'm gonna spawn a guide. So this one. It's probably okay. Let's see. Yeah, this is probably fine. So now I'm going to let's see, if I visualize my head back and I click on in here, this is what I have. And now I want to export this shape into Maya, and I'm gonna use this to generate my hair. And also I'm going to export the lowest resolution of the head as reference. And so I'm just gonna select my new geometry. So I don't really care about the polygroups. I just wanted to have like a line split across here, so it's gonna be easier for me to cut this in Maya. And then I'm gonna go to export and uncheck groups, and I'm gonna click export, and I'm going to let's see, I'm gonna go into my Maya folder, and I'm gonna call this sculpt. Okay, and now I'm ready to go. So let's go to Maya and let's get started with our hair and ornatrix. Okay, I'm in Maya and I've imported both my object, my head mesh, and my scalp mesh. Now what I want to do, I want to separate this in 3 pieces, and so I'm going to isolate my object, and I'm just gonna go to the sculpt tools or the modeling tools, and I'm just gonna quickly hold tab on my keyboard, and I'm gonna do this quick selection of these polygons here and here, and I'm gonna click on extract. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same for these polygons here. So I'm gonna press tab and do this quick selection like this, and this side as well. Okay, and I'm gonna click on extract. So now I have 1, 2, and 3. Actually, I have these 2 objects need to be combined, so I'm gonna do mesh, combine, and I'm actually gonna, let's see, let's delete the transformation and freeze the transform, and then select this group and ungroup it, and ungroup this as well. Okay, so these are gonna be the sideburns, and this is gonna be the mullet, and this is gonna be just the regular scalp. Okay, so I've got my 3 objects, 1, 2, and 3, and now I can start with ornatrix. So with my scalp mesh selected, I'm gonna go to the ornatrix tab, and this is all the options that ornatrix is gonna offer. So with my scalp mesh selected, I'm gonna click add hair, and I'm gonna click on furball and click create. So by default, this massive triangles will appear. These are default hair. So obviously these hair are way too big, but actually there is one more thing that I want to do. So let me undo this. I'm gonna, since our character scale, if you remember, it's pretty small, so I'm going to select all my object and gonna group them like so, and I'm gonna scale the group 10 times, so like that. Now I have a bigger scale, and I'm gonna do the same. So go here and add hair, verbal, create, and the same thing happens, but we don't need to worry about it. So first thing we want to do is get rid of this mess. So I'm going to click on render settings node and go into the attributes, and I'm going to dial down this radius to something like oh, this is interesting. It seems that the scale, we scale 10 times our object, but the scale of our object, it sees our object as very, very small. So let me undo that one more time, and let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna select my group, and I'm gonna click ungroup. But before doing that, I need to reset the scale, otherwise. Okay, set it back to 1, and now I'm going to ungroup my object, and I'm going to select my head mesh. I'm going to set the scale to 10. I'm going to group these objects, and I'm going to scale them, and then I'm just going to edit, ungroup, and now I'm going to freeze the transformation on these guys. So delete history and freeze the transformation. So now their scale is 1, and I'm gonna keep the scale of 10 only of my head. I'm gonna use this to scale it back once I'm done. So now this should be fine. Let's go back to our matrix. Okay, and I'm gonna click on furball and click create. So yeah, now the hair are much smaller than before, so the scale worked. So, but they're still obviously super big, but we're gonna fix that in a second. So now I'm gonna go and first of all, let's get rid of this huge things here. So let's scale down the radius a little bit, and let's go to guide from mesh, and I'm gonna start reducing the length of my guide. Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna uncheck this hair from guide node like this. So I'm gonna visualize only the guides, and let's see, a good length could be maybe 1.5, and it's always easier to keep the length of the hair a little bit longer, and eventually scale them down later, rather than doing the opposite. So I'm gonna do I'm going to remove the randomness from the guides because I don't want it in the guides itself. I just want it, I will add randomness later. And here it says distribution types. I can choose between different types. At the moment I cannot use these two because they both require UVs, and I don't have UVs. If I click here, Maya is giving me an error, and the reason is because my sculpt mesh does not have UV. But I can use this distribution type or this distribution type. This is a random area distribution. This one is random phase distribution, and this one is vertex distribution. So they're all slightly different. They have their benefits, their merits, and disadvantages. In this case, I don't need so many guides, so I kind of wish there was one more distribution type, something like guides from face, but where Ornatics could generate one guide in the center of the face. So hopefully that will be added in the future. And so because there isn't, and I don't need so many guides, I can obviously go in here and dial this down, but it will leave me with an uneven distribution of guides, which I don't want. If I activate here, what I actually want, let me actually, for now, I'm gonna hide this mesh. What I want is I want to have, actually, let me undo that. I'm just gonna keep this one. So I'm gonna hide these meshes, and what I want to do, I'm going to manually place my guides. So to do that, I'm gonna go to, first of all, I'm gonna reduce the number to something like, let's see, 1, 2, okay, just have one there, that's fine. Now I'm gonna go to edit guide, and I'm gonna select this tool, and I'm gonna click on plant guide tool. But before I do that, I'm gonna set the scale 1.5, which is the same as I used before. And now I'm gonna click on plant guide tool, and see it became blue. And now I'm just gonna start and click in the center of my faces, or about the center of my faces. I don't need to be super precise, but I'm gonna do the same here. Maybe some here, like so. I'm gonna go and place these guides all over this border, like that. And before, let me see, yeah, I'm gonna start placing a couple more guides here, a few more guides here, here. Let's do something like that, perhaps. Like so. Something like this. Maybe I'll add one here and here. And I'm just gonna add a bunch of guides where I think I would need them. And let's go here. At any point I can go and add more guides later. So I'm just gonna click a bunch of guides here. Maybe one here, one here, something like that. and a bunch of more guides here. So while I'm doing this, I'm gonna talk to you about the importance of the guides. So in my opinion, I think that the key for making good looking hair is how good your guides are in the first place. Okay, something like that. And because even if it takes more time, I usually spend most of the time combing the guides, because this is what is gonna give me more it's gonna give me the best results. Okay, so even if it takes more time, because I have to go and comb all of these guides. So what I'm gonna do, I need to see this guy here. So I'm gonna watch my references here, and for now I'm gonna look at this one. And so this is roughly the direction of the guides that I have to comb. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna work on individual guides, and I'm gonna click this icon here, which is select guide. And if I'm gonna press B, I can scale my brush size. And I'm gonna start from the bottom. So let me unhide my head mesh just for reference. Okay, so I'm gonna go into my brush mode, and I'm gonna select this guide, and I'm gonna activate effect select only, and I can start. Oops. And now with the comb brush, I can again after selected only, and I can start going like this and comb. Let me scale this brush a little bit down and comb my guide like so. So I don't need to be like super precise, but I'm gonna spend the majority of the time combing the guides, because as I said before, I think it's the most important step. And as you can see from the reference, like it's the root of the hair, it's curving like this, and then they kind of flow this way like this. I'm not really focusing on the mullet right now, it's more like here, but that's pretty much the okay. So this is gonna take quite some time, and so if you don't wanna watch me do this for the next hour or so, feel free to skip this part. But if you want to learn this software and in general how to make decent looking hair, I would recommend to stay tuned and at least for a while until you kind of grasp the point of what I'm doing. So basically I'm gonna comb individual guides this way, and I'm gonna try to make them roughly the same shape, but with subtle differences, and this will let's see, so they look like it's kind of difficult to see. This is quite compressed image, but yeah, they look like they go down like that, like so, maybe. And something like this, perhaps. Okay. I'm gonna try basically to keep a little bit of variation in the shapes, because then later when I finish combing the guides, I'm gonna use some operator from this menu to do some combing automatically. But again, the secret is having already nicely combed guide, and this will help me quite a lot. So maybe something like that, something like this. I can obviously at any time I can come back to my guides and edit them. So often after I start generating my hair, obviously that's where you see if your guides are working fine or not. So something like this. Okay, maybe. Let me see. Okay. So basically, I'm trying to get a little bit of like the base where I will later append the other hair for the mullet here. So something like this. And let's see. Let's start going down a little bit more, like so. And I think like the hair, they don't really extend that much outside of the sculpt. Probably something like that should be okay. And do the same here. Let's see, let's bring this up a little bit. It's a little bit easier to see. So maybe something like this. Let me see. It's quite difficult to see, but I think they have like kind of like this shape. They kind of go. They're fairly straight. So maybe they're gonna be a little bit like that here. They don't really go too much outside of this. I don't want to break the silhouette of the hair of the head too much. Maybe something like that could work. We'll see. Let's move to this side. And again, let's comb this down like this. And maybe a little bit more here. Like so. And basically I'm gonna have to do that for the entire number of guides. I know that it sounds, by the look of it, you're probably thinking that this is gonna be very boring and tedious task, which it kinda is, but you will see later when I start generating the hair how important having good guys is. So it seems like the hair from here start and they go down in this direction rather than doing that. So let's do this, and maybe a little bit more like that. They kind of follow the shape here around the ear, like so. Okay, I'm gonna do the same this side. So it's kind of like that. And then it goes down like this. And maybe something like this. I think I went a bit too far. Something like so. Okay. Alright. Let's continue. So let's grab this guy. And I'm gonna do pretty much the same. So this guy is gonna go here and it's gonna wrap around the head like so. Maybe something like that. And do the same on this side. Like that. And going down like this. Alright, kind of like that. And also I'm not worried about the steps of these guides. As you can see, they're not very smooth, but this is gonna change. I can add after I generated my hair, I can add more subdivision to the splines, to the curves, and the resulting hair will be much smoother. So something like this. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same for this guy. Let's see. Yeah, so they just move. They have the kind of like this wave around the ear. So let's do something like this, kind of like that. Yeah, and let's try to follow this curvature and maybe pull it out a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit, like so. And again on top, like that. Maybe a bit higher, something like this, perhaps. We'll see. Okay, let's do the same here. I'll select this guide and let's pull the root up, and then let's try to create like a nice arch around the ear, like so, and pull this guy up a little bit, like that, and something like this maybe. Alright, let's continue. So again, same thing. So I'm just gonna move this guy here around this ear and maybe move it a little bit there, like that. Let me hide this to see a little bit better what I'm doing. Okay, like that. And I'm gonna do the same here. So, like so. Okay. And let's see. I'm gonna be trying to be, basically I'm trying to get, I don't want the guide to look procedurally generated, right? I want them to look a little bit more organic. So let's move here, and so this kind of continues like that, so something like this. Down like that. All right, and do the same here. So down like that, and up, and then down again. Let's create a nice arch like this. And let's bring this guy back here. Let's see, it goes kind of like that. So maybe let's bring this guy a little bit up outside, like so. And select this guide. Now here they go more down, like so. Something like this. And kind of coming in the back, maybe like this. Okay, and this guy, and we need to be careful, because when I rotate the camera and move the spline, our matrix will also slightly, because of the interpolation, it will also move. It might be that you spend sometimes aligning from this view, then you move back here, you align this view, and then when you come back, this has changed. So you need to kind of find the right balance. So first I'm gonna drop this one, and I'm gonna kind of leave this kind of like that, and let's do this guy here. So let's pull this down, and maybe set it like this, like so. Okay, and let's go here, do the same. So this is probably gonna be, I think actually this video will be perfect for falling asleep, because there isn't much interesting thing going on the screen, and if you listen to this while you're in bed, I'm pretty sure that you will fall asleep quite easily with this video. So again, if you're just here to learn about Ordinatrix, you might want to skip ahead, and when I finish doing this and see a little bit of the next step, which is going to be a little bit more interesting. But if you're gonna watch the entire video, then you have you have a pretty good patience. You're a pretty good patient person. So let's move this guy like here, and let's see this guy like so. Maybe like that, and let's fold like so, and a little bit more like here. Okay. Obviously, I'm not trying to get the hair to look perfectly identical to the one of my reference, because let's face it, they won't be. They will never be identical. But as long as the feeling, the overall look, it's kind of the same, then I'll be happy. So let's try and do this. Okay, let's get this one, this guy. Okay, keep following the flow of the head, like this, and maybe for this guy I'm gonna spin it this way. I'm gonna do it like this. Okay, and alright, like so. Select this guy and keep going. So like this, and like that. Like so. Okay. So since I have a lot of guides to go through, and even the more patient viewer, I don't think is gonna stand just here and staring at me doing this for 100 guides. I think I'm gonna pause the video and I'm gonna come back once the whole combing is done. So see you then. Okay, I have pretty much finished the hair. Let me just do a little bit here, like so. And so this is what I've got. To get to this point took me about 2 hours, so that would have been a very, very, very boring video to follow. And so now we are gonna check if my guides are somehow good or not by activating the actual hair, and then we're gonna proceed to add some modifier on top to make them look better. Alright, so I'm gonna go back to my hair from guide nodes, and I'm gonna turn it on, and yeah, I'm actually fairly pleased with the overall shape. So a couple of things to notice. The reason why some of the hair is white, some of the hair is black, is because of the way they are rotated. At the moment, the actual hair are flat. They're just 2D polygons, kind of like very fine cards. If I zoom in, you can kind of see that they're flat. Okay, so one side is lit. If you move here, you can see that one side of the faces is lit, and the other side it's black. Maya doesn't calculate the light for both of the faces. So so one thing we can do is going into I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna add a rotate operator. So if I click this, and then I'm gonna check orient based on strand shape, and as you can see, automatically all the faces are oriented in the same way, which is quite neat. But actually, what I really want instead of this, I want to have 3D hair. So these are just, again, these are just 2D flat polygons, but I don't really want that. But I'm going to convert them. Actually, I'm going to show you what happens. So I'm going to go here on the very top, and I'm going to add a mesh from strands. So mesh for strands, basically it will generate an actual mesh from my hair. And if I, as you can see at the moment, it says flat ribbon strands, so these are just these flat polygons, and by default that's what we have. But if I click this one, cylindrical strand, as you can see, now my hair are actually 3D, and if I zoom in, you can kind of see that. Actually, let me go inside the hair. You can see that if I it might be a bit difficult to see, but these are actually 3D. They have like a triangular base, and from that triangular base the actual hair are generated. So this is more like what I want to have for my character. But obviously this visualization, it's a little bit heavier, so while I'm setting up my character, I'm just gonna switch it off for now, and I'm gonna keep this visualization that it's much lighter, as you can see. So maybe one thing I can do is to assign a different shader to my hair so I can see them a little bit better. So let's select the hair and assign new material. Let's see, I'm just gonna assign a Lambert shader for now. Select, and I'm gonna make them darker. This way, even if the character is blonde, it's just to visualize better the hair. And actually, you know what, I'm gonna make it plain, so I should have a little bit of specular going on, even if this is just a preview. Okay, so let me save what I have. And so now let's go quick here. So now let's make the hair a little bit more interesting looking by adding few operators. So first what I want to do, on top of the rotate node, I'm gonna add a this is the guide cluster. So what this is gonna do, if I click here and add it, what this is gonna do, it's basically gonna clump the hair to my guides. But as you can see, this is a little bit too much, so we can control the amount of this effect using this ramp. There's an overall cluster amount that we can dial, and this is also pretty good. Actually, this might be enough for now. And actually, let me check one thing. One thing to notice that at the moment, if I go to hair from guides, I have about 10,000 hair, which are not many, and not that many. A human head, I think on average he has between 80,000 and 150,000 hair. Obviously, we are not gonna put that many hair because that would be way overkill. And I believe also, if I zoom here, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go back to my here. So if I zoom, I believe that, as you can see, these hair are much thicker than real hair. So I obviously don't know how many hair the character has, but we are not going to use hundreds of thousands of hair because that would be unnecessary. But we might want to increase the number here a little bit because these hair are way too big at the moment. But again, I'm going to do that at the end. I don't want to, that will obviously impact the performance of the viewport. So for now, I'm just going to keep that. And let's see. Alright, let me uncheck this. So, okay. So, another thing that we can add on top of my guide cluster node, we can also try adding a hair cluster. So this one is independent of the guides. This will, based on this number, will generate a amount of clumps, which is based from this. So in this case, by default, is generated 500 clamps, which means that my 10,000 hair are grouped or clamped inside 500 clamps cluster. So if I dial this up, as you can see, he's creating more, and I can. This stops at 1,000, but I can type in, for example, like 5,000, and with 5,000, that means that basically half of my hair are clumped together because I have 10,000 hair at the moment and 5,000 clumps. So let's see, off and on doesn't really make that big of a difference, but that's fine for now. Also keep in mind that these hair are the one on the top of the hair of the head. I haven't done the mullet yet. If I move here, you can see this longer hair and the sideburns. I'm gonna do that in a separate video to keep things short. And let's see what else we can do. We might actually get, so it's a little bit difficult to see a nice preview here because these hair, they don't have shadow, and so they look a little bit weird. So let let me go to, if I go here to my, I want to go to the material, but for some reason Maya does not display the material in here. So let's go and open the hypershade, and we can select the material from there, which is this plane here, and can just reduce a little bit the specular like so. And let's see if activating the screen space ambient occlusion helps. Not really. So what we can do to preview this hair a little bit better, I can just activate my Octane render for my plugin, and that will probably give us a better idea of what we have. So let's try to see if we can successfully activate that. So let's go to render options from here, and I'm going to okay, the plugin is not loaded, so I'm gonna go to Window, Plugin Manager, and I'm going to find Octane plugin, click load. Okay, load the plugin, and now it should be, if I go back to here, it should be here. Okay, Octane render. Now this is not going to be, okay, this is not going to be a video dedicated to Octane render. I will make one that will make a proper video separately, but very quickly I just want to have a preview of what I'm having here, so that should be fine. And I just need to activate this, and let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna drag this window in here so I can have it visible. So as you can see, the hair, this is a nicer preview because it's using it's just displaying with ambient occlusion, which is, you know, a little bit better than the flat Maya viewport. And I think the hair looks quite nice. Obviously they will look much better once they will have the proper shader applied, but overall I think they look nice. I might want to go in and add some more variation, so let's do that. So let me stop Octane for a second, and what I can do, I can go here and add maybe a curl operator. And now obviously this is not what I want, so let's tweak it a little bit. So maybe changing the magnitude of the effect, and also I want, so this is no effect, and this is max effect. So let's see, I can just slightly add a little bit here, but maybe that's too much. Let's see what I can do. So let's see this and reduce the magnitude. I just want to a little bit of effect. Let's see, I can add some noise. Okay, let me see if I turn off and on. You can see that it gets a little bit more interesting shape. So if I refresh my IPR, it should update the image. Okay, let's see how it looks. And it looks kind of nice. Keep in mind again that I don't have the mullet yet. Maybe this area is a little bit too much. I don't really like this hair popping out like this. So I might reduce the effect a little bit. Let's see. So let me stop this, and so let's see what might be because of the guides. Let me check if I go back to my edit guide. No, the guide seems fine. So let's go back here and maybe let's see if we can maybe changing this. Well, this is the noise amount, and it's just so it's very subtle. It's a very subtle effect. So this is magnitude. Let's see, like this. Click on IPR to refresh it. Now it's gonna compile the new scene. Let's see what we have. So yeah, that looks okay. So I'm just checking. I kind of want it a little bit more wavy. If you look at this, it seems to be a little bit more wavy overall, as opposite as this one. So I might want to tweak a little bit more the settings of the curl node, but so far this is a pretty good result. And in the next video I'm gonna continue, and I'm gonna make the mullet, and I'm gonna add the sideburns, and then we're gonna conclude the hair. So again, if you like what I'm doing, if you like my work, please subscribe. This will help me a lot with my small channel, and don't forget to click the likes and leave a comment if you want. Thank you for watching, and see you in part 2.